Hey friends, so I am coming to you live from the car today. I had planned to sit down and do this video, but plans change and you have to roll with it sometimes. So, no room to get over yet. Anyway, so I got to go to church this morning, which is huge, phenomenal, so exciting. Paige has hit a lot of milestones in the last 12 hours. Not a lot, just two. Anyway, so the first one is that she showered all by herself. Like, I was blown away. I mean, obviously she's been showering by herself for years, but for her to shower by herself with a PICC line is enormous because I still have to wrap her arm for her, but she's always afraid that her PICC line is going to get wet and the tape on the bandaging is going to come off and get everything wet. And if a PICC line gets wet, it can lead to having to have a whole new PICC procedure done. And that's just a terrible thing. I mean, not terrible, but like, it's a concerning thing. It's risky. Anyway, so she decided she was going to do her own shower last night and she did it. And I was amazed. Like, she didn't even tell me. She just did it all herself. And then today, I was inspired last night just to look up and see what time church service starts here in Columbia. And I am very, very blessed to be a member of a church with buildings globally. I have the amazing and incredible opportunity to be able to know that I should be able to go to a service anytime, anywhere, you know, wherever we are. Maybe not anytime because these things are scheduled, but you get what I'm saying. So anyway, and you know, this morning came and I had the opportunity to consider actually really going this morning. And so I talked to Paige about it, and Paige is like giving me a look. She's like, yeah, Mom. She's like, just go. And I was like, are you sure? You know, I must have asked her 1,000 different times because I always hate leaving her for any period of time because scary things happen, you know, but she is at a point where she's so comfortable with the nurses that she has, and, you know, with knowing how our weekends go when we're in the hospital like this, she's just like, yeah, Mom, you know, I'm great. Go to church. And so I went, and I'm excited. And I'm really grateful that I am a member of a church that will accept me in any building, no matter how I'm dressed. And I can go and take the sacrament and just enjoy a service. So, and I know that Thanksgiving is coming up, but it surprised me today to hear the speakers talk about gratitude, because I'm not in a Thanksgiving mind right now. We're going to be admitted through Thanksgiving. It'll be our first holiday ever admitted. And so that's just not where my mind's at right now. My mind is focused on getting us through this admission. So I was surprised, but obviously, you know, it's a normal thing. So I went ahead and, you know, listened beautifully. I mean, the speakers had such relevant things to say today, and the Spirit really grabbed me, and I was just so grateful to go. And the talks today were over gratitude in basically any situation, and I feel like that's been the theme of this admission. You know, it's our third of the year, but overall, this admission, even though it's had a few bumps and bruises so far, it's been a fantastic admission, you know, and I've praised our nurses and our doctors all the way through, and the timing of it and things like that. It's been wonderful. And so I just feel really, really satisfied right now. So the whole point of this video is to give you guys an update otherwise. Where do I start? So I didn't give an update yesterday because it was just a super duper lazy day. I wasn't away from Paige much. So I just skipped it. So the updates you need to know. Dr. Page's ENT, he got the results back on her sinus mucus, and it just cultured staph, which is great. You know, I told this to one of the nurses, and she was so sad. And I'm like, no, this is a good thing. Like, Paige colonizes staph at this point, which means it's always in her lungs. You don't want any bacteria in the lungs, but when you colonize a bacteria, it's just a bacteria you can't get rid of, and this is in Paige's lungs. And now we know it's in her sinuses as well. So that helps us understand a little bit more as to why we see such a massive increase in sinus symptoms whenever Paige is sick. You know, it's just this colonized staph that's now present throughout her body, and it's just flaring up. So we are treating that with the sinus rinse with the antibiotics in it. I talked about that in the last video. Thankfully, Paige's amazing doctor spent a ton of time trying to find a parking space now. Paige's doctor spent a ton of time going back and forth between pharmacies and insurance, and she finally was given the approval for the medication to be mixed here at the pharmacy at the hospital, which means that we didn't have to pay to have it compounded at some special compounding pharmacy. It was able to be done here locally, saving us a ton of money. So we don't have to pay anything for it. Insurance covered it all, and she started it. The antibiotics that are in her rinses are mupirocin. I believe it's new for us, so I'm still learning how to pronounce it. And tobramycin. So that makes a total of 4 antibiotics that she's on to combat this current exacerbation. So IV Unison, oral Bactrim, and then mupirocin and tobramycin in her sinus rinses. And she's so fully covered. Like, that's the most antibiotics she's ever been on at one time. But it tells you kind of the severity of the staph that she was growing. And so, you know, it's a pretty big deal. Anyway, gosh darn it. Well, I just lost that parking spot. Backing up. Okay, so what next? Paige's ultrasound results came back, and they're not what we wanted. So the good news is that they've been doing blood draws about every other day to keep a track on her liver enzymes, and those are going down, which is wonderful, really wonderful. And that tells us that they were high because of the infection her body was fighting, and that since the infection is being controlled, the numbers are going down, which shows us there's the correlation between the infection and her liver enzyme levels. So, found a parking spot. Okay, now I can focus a little bit better. Okay, so the results of the liver enzymes show evidence of steatosis. I'd never heard this term before, ever. Steatosis is the presence of fat globules, and it is more present than what we would normally expect to be found in the liver. There is no evidence of cirrhosis, which is scarring and hardening of the liver, which is fantastic because that is part of what cystic fibrosis related liver disease does. So the plan of action, as far as the steatosis goes, there are tens of thousands of people walking around with fat in their liver, more so than normal, and they are perfectly fine. The reason that we have to be concerned is because of cystic fibrosis and the toll that it can take on the liver, and because cystic fibrosis related liver disease is a thing that exists in this world. So what we're gonna do, and that's why I keep looking down here, I've got a list. So they're running a fatty acid panel on Paige right now. It is a blood draw that's sent off to the Mayo Clinic, to their lab. If the fatty acid panel let's back up. There are two different kinds of fatty acids. So one is a fatty acid that your body makes itself. The other is an essential fatty acid that can only be obtained through your diet. So if Paige's fatty acid numbers that her body produces are low, then she can take a pill to help raise those numbers to where they need to be. Now, I've received kind of mixed reviews on this. Paige's pulmonologist has told us that this pill is sort of like a placebo because it makes the numbers look better, but it doesn't do anything to fix the disease. So it's kind of a false comfort. And again, this is if Paige is diagnosed with a disease. Right now, we don't have enough evidence one way or the other at this point to diagnose Paige. If the fatty acid panel comes back abnormal, if it's low, then her GI doctor or the GI doctor on call will make the decision as to whether or not Paige needs to be diagnosed with fatty liver disease. So fatty liver disease is just the presence, it's that steatosis, you know, those fat globules that are there more so than normal. And, excuse me, if she's diagnosed with fatty liver disease, there's still nothing we can do. From what I understand, fatty liver disease is kind of the precursor to cystic fibrosis related liver disease when it comes to CF patients. Again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because it took dozens and dozens of questions and for me until I figured out and felt comfortable enough, you know, that I understood this. And I still don't feel like I understand it very well. But anyway, let me see. So we'll see once those results come back. They should come back midweek, roughly. Ultimately, if she does have liver changes, it could be consistent with a number of things. So again, nothing we can diagnose at this time. And I think that's it. So that's about the extent of the updates that I have on my little sheet, which is just what my glorified term for the envelope I'm using. Anyway, other than that, things really are going good. Like I said last night, you know, we're just relaxing. Weekends are always nice because people pretty much leave us alone. We just have to worry about respiratory treatment and, you know, meds and IVs and her nurse, you know, and that's it. And so it's really nice to be able to relax and have that time to just recoup after the enormously long first week that we've had. So I will update if any other changes come in. So for right now, we're just sitting back. Paige has regained the color in her face and the rest of her body. She has that more filled out look, you know. I don't know how to explain it, but she's back to life, you know. She's not miserable anymore. The amount of mucus she's coughing up and rinsing out has greatly decreased, and it's thinned out. It's losing its color. We're definitely on the right track. I mean, with antibiotics like Toby and Mupirocin, those are big drugs, and so I mean, definitely covered from a sinus standpoint. And then IV Unison and oral Bactrim are always our go-tos. They are drugs that always work very well with Paige's body. So we're just hanging out now. We will repeat PFTs on Wednesday. I think Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. Anyway, we're expecting them to be back up. Paige's lungs have been sounding great, and that's usually what we see. The first week she comes in, you know, she's always down with PFTs, always super sick, and then literally halfway, well, 3/4 of the way through the week is when we really see that progress that we needed to see from the beginning, or we were hoping to see, you know, from the beginning of Paige's exacerbation, even, you know, before she came to the hospital. Does that make sense? Or did I just confuse everybody? Because I kind of confused myself. Anyway, I'm in a great mood. I'm feeling just a little, less completely serious right now. So, we're great. Things are good. And we're just going to keep hanging out. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.